little bit of home teaching, or is it more?
No, it was just tutoring, I would call it.
Okay.
You know, my dad is extremely intelligent, street smart, um, amazing cook. He's more of a like a imaginative cook. My mom is, yeah, it's like he can create stuff out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's the recipe for this? He said, I don't know.
I
You
don't
know,
know.
I think I got a little bit of his trait as well, to be honest.
Right.
I call myself a compow cooker. Like, pow, compow, you know.
Yeah.
So whatever, but it ends up turning out good, right? So
You
we'll
made
see.
it happen, you
Made
know?
it happen.
You gotta do what you gotta
My
do.
mom's cooking is very like following direction, instruction type of stuff, and she is amazing as well too. So they got along very well, even though they were young. A lot of opportunities for reconnecting to make the grindstone smoother as well too.
Sure.
But they're still together over 39 years, close to
Jeez.
40 years now. Um, and I'm about to get married soon, so I'm gonna be the first child that I'm gonna that from their family, from our family, that's gonna get married.
Wow.
So it's been a big, big, big shift in their personalities, how they operate, how they listen to us. So it's been interesting to see that.
Seeing yourself in, how long were you in Atria?
Eritrea,
Eritrea.
yeah,
Eritrea. How long were you there?
15 years.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
So you were there for a good amount of
Yeah,
time.
I think it was a blessing because I got
Yo.
to really, really soak in the values that our countries have taught us.
Mm.
I know the language, the culture. Have had a lot of friends. Obviously, we haven't seen them in a while now. It's been 21, 22 years.
Right.
But it's been such a great blessing to have that opportunity to be able to grow with my people.
Can you describe the you as a child, you growing up in the type of personality that you had, the demeanor that you had, how you saw yourself and how you think the world saw you as kind of like a young, I don't know, growing up kid, 5 versus 10, kind of.
That's a great question. I think I get it from my father, to be honest. I'm inquisitive, I believe,
Mm.
curious, imaginative. Cartoons were huge to me.
Yo.
My older brother Tedros, phenomenal sportsman. He played soccer. He was in karate. Younger brother Isaias kind of followed his footsteps as well too. Very amazing soccer player. So my older brother is 3 years older than me. He's 39. I'm 36. Younger brother is 33, and our younger sister is 5 years. So she's 28. 5 years younger than my younger brother. So she's 28 right now. So all three of us, before our sister came, um, we had certain routines that we did, but while Tedros and Isaias were outside playing, I used to run because cartoon started at 6 o'clock. I had to get ready like 5:45. I have to, watch my feet, and I love playing soccer. Don't get me wrong, but there's something that gravitated me when I was watching cartoon, just the openness of the world. If that makes sense.
Right.
So that kind of gave me a little bit of curiosity, and I'll tell you a quick story. I decided to. I was like maybe like 7 years old, 8 years old. I decided to create a radio station.
Yo.
I've never did it, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my own station. So what I did is I went to the yard, found this concave looking plate, smashed it so it can be like round, like a satellite. Found a magnet, attached it. Found a regular wire on the ground, tied it to the string, kind of like created like a satellite looking thing. And I got the 2 prongs and I hooked them to the outlet. Poof, the whole house. I know. Boom, the whole house went berserk. Electricity was off. And the good thing is my dad came. When he came, he brought some guests with him. My dad used to be an electrician. So he's trying to turn the switch on and nothing's working. And he know how to fix it. So as he's fixing it, he looks at me, he goes, "You did this, didn't you?" I was like, "Yes." I didn't get beat up, so that's good, Yeah, it was a good time. So I would say curious, imaginative, free
You
spirit.
a little bit of that engineering, you a little bit.
I love tinkering.
Mm.
I used to tinker with like automatic watches. You remember Casio?
Oh, yo.
Casio, yeah. Used to take them apart, put them back together, take this from this to that, all that stuff. So I had fun as a child.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would like to take a quick break. Do you mind pulling the mic a little bit, just pulling it down?
Oh, down.
Yeah. How do you? Is that good, sir?
Can you hear me?
Let me see. Yeah, okay, that looks much better, right? I think we're good here. Perfect. Thank you. So, a little water break too.
Yeah.
So, okay, you mentioned your brothers and sisters, and can you run through? You said you had an older one.
Older brother.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
3 years
39.
older.
3 years older.
Okay. and then a
Younger brother.
younger brother.
He is 33.
And is your younger brother Isaias?
Isaias.
Isaias.
Kind of like a derivative of Isaiah almost.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
got it. And then your older brother, what his name one more
His
time?
name is Tedros.
Tedros.
Tedros. Like Theodore almost, but Tedros.
Yo.
So remember, we're ancient civilizations. So our name
Yo.
comes before Theodore. I'll tell you that much. You know?
Yo, okay. And then your sister,
My sister's name is Niat. Niat.
Niet.
Niat.
How
Lovely.
how is your relationship with you guys are all around the same age? Like this is like a really cool thing you guys got going
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. You know, as a family, we moved from place to place when we
Mm-hmm.
were back home. So especially having three boys, 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Some of us, whenever you go to a new neighborhood, kids challenge you.
Yeah.
So at any
Yeah.
given time, either one of us is being challenged as a new kid in the block.
Mm.
And so because of that, because we stuck together as siblings, it kind of translated to the relationship that we have right now. I believe I have one of the best, if not the best, relationship with my siblings,
Mm.
full of respect. And I'm not exaggerating right now. Full of respect. Even I'm 36, when my older brother's talking, I'm always keeping my mouth shut until he finishes, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because he deserves that. He's been there for me like that, you know.
Mm.
Even right now, he's that way. Same thing with my younger brother as well too. We've always been there together. Whenever somebody's messing with him, I'm jumping in, you know. And our sister is just, she got the best of us. Nothing of who we are is worse, if that makes sense, you know. Lovely lady, very respectful, very outgoing, honest, caring. What else? Strong-minded, strong-willed.
Right.
That's huge. So yeah, we have a strong relationship as siblings.
You as a kid, you mentioned that you were really curious. You also mentioned that you're very imaginative. You spent a lot of time watching TV and seeing like cartoons,
yeah.
right? Friends. You mentioned one of your friends used to be able to play. You play with each other in terms of like Mario. Is that right?
Yeah, Super Mario. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you have a lot of like childhood friends? Do you remember?
Yeah, so we definitely stuck close as a family.
Okay.
Even though I have my siblings, immediate siblings, we also grew up with my cousins. My cousin Biniam, he's in London and he's in Europe right now.
Okay.
He was one of the most gifted athletes, showing us backflips and diving from high ceilings and always introduced us to video games. Like I said, we used to have Sega Genesis. We used to have Nintendo 64. I don't think we have Nintendo 64. Later on, we had PlayStation 2. And then my other cousin, just got blessed to come to Canada. He was in Africa for a while, so his paper got processed. So he's in Canada right now.
Wow.
As I mentioned, I'm getting married soon to a lovely lady named Susan soon. So it's going to be a big family reunion. And then one of our youngest cousins that we have is his name is Sham. So all of us boys kind of stuck together. But beyond that, we definitely had best friends of our own. School back home and neighborhood back home is just amazing because, like I said, we didn't have too much electronics, even though we were blessed to have some.
Sure.
Majority of the people that we were associating ourselves with didn't.
Right.
But we chose to be with the people rather than to stay inside as well, too, as much as we can.
Right.
So a lot of great friends that we grew up with from school, from the neighborhood and all that stuff, yeah.
Your school life, you mentioned you did some sports, right? Like soccer was a big
Soccer, yeah,
thing, right? How was it like going into elementary school, middle school? Is there same concept there?
It's a smooth transition.
Okay.
High school years back home started at eighth grade. On eighth grade,
Oh,
yep. So
whoa.
eighth grade is considered high school. So from first until fifth is elementary, and the middle school is 6 and 7, and then you go to high school on eighth grade. So majority of us stuck together because we were from same neighborhood. Most of us began to diverge once we got into college, if that makes sense.
Wait. So you went to college already?
Back home?
Yeah.
Here, yeah. So remember, I came to America when I was 15 years old. So I came to America spring semester of my freshman year.
Wait, hold up. So if you're 15, in
Eritrea. Yeah.
Eritrea, you're essentially what? You're your second, third year in high school, right?
First year.
First year. Okay.
Because eighth grade is considered high school back home.
So then you just went and did a high school again when you came here.
It didn't repeat. It was just transitioning. But when I got here, first, I don't know how the numbers work.
Right.
It's not like I skipped school or
Okay.
back. I didn't do that. Just when I got here, I came to America February 2002, and they put me straight to high school, and I was freshman spring semester.
How was that transition? That seems so like seems. Have you ever been to America before?
No. So the story goes, my mom was here in America to visit my her siblings, her sisters. She brought my youngest sister, which is Nia. She was 3 years old.
Mm.
While my mom and my sister were in America, the war broke back home with Ethiopia. So they were
Mm.
drafting a lot of people to go to war and all that stuff. So she decided to process the paperwork to bring us to America. And so luckily we did. We were able to come to America, which was a blessing. It's funny because I used to tell my friends back home, hey man, in 10 years, Asmara, which is the capital city, Asmara is going to turn into America one day, you know? Little did I know, it kind of did for me in a way because I transitioned to America, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the transition itself was challenging, starting with the weather. Um, it was negative 20, it was about 80, 75 to 80 degrees year round back home. But when we came to America, it was negative 22 degrees. And throughout the 18-hour journey of coming from East Africa to Midwest, I know, the whole journey we were inside something, either inside the airplane, inside the jetway, inside the airport. So throughout the journey, we were inside something. So you don't feel the change in temperature. We come to America, we meet my mom, my cousins, my aunties, and all that stuff. But everybody's like bundled up, huge. Me and my brother are like, hey, look at these kids. They're weird. Why are they wearing such a big jacket?
Mm.
And when that sliding door opened up for us to go outside to get to our cab, it literally went from like, to me, from like 75 degrees down to negative 22. And I hated, hate a strong word, but at the time I hated that negative 22 degrees, snow, bitterness, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Negative 22.
Yep.
That's your first experience in America. Welcome.
Yeah. And the America that was sold to me was California.
Yo.
Through the movies, tropical
Yo.
weather, all that stuff. And I'm like, what is this dead place?
What state did you land in first?
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Holy
Lil Yachty song, "Oh, like Minnesota." That's
Yo,
for a reason.
for real. Okay, so your first few years is in Minnesota, or was that just a stop?
No. Actually, I lived in Minnesota. Went to high school, graduated from University of Minnesota as well too. So I did about 15 years in Minnesota. Transition wise, it was tough because I was the new kid in the block. Knew some English. For the first 2 weeks in high school, I didn't eat any lunch because I just did not know the protocol. So while everybody is breaking for lunch in high school, I used to sit in the stairs just passing time and just go to my next class. And then one day I mustered the courage. I was like, what's going on here? Look at it. It was a sea of what? Cafeteria. I'm like, I'm just going to follow the person in front of me. That's how I chose my first lunch meal was chicken patty. Not because I knew what chicken patty was, but because the guy in front of me picked chicken patty. To me, I was like, from Africa, I was like, oh, dang, that's pretty good.
So do you learn English out there, or?
Yeah, so from sixth grade, they started to teach us in English.
Yeah.
But because Tigrinya was the common language, even though we wrote and read in English, most of the explanation was in our home native tongue. If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. But I've always been curious, like I said, so watching cartoons helped a lot.
Got it.
Mhm.
Obviously, everything is Mario is most likely you have to read.
Yeah,
the
read,
In,
all McDonald had I remember those bouncy
Yeah,
balls. I used to
yeah.
follow them, and
those ABCs to hang out with your
they
with your
did.
friends
Yeah,
helped
and
out. Yeah.
So I think I have good memories as well too, so I kind of caught up with that. The funny thing is,
Wow.
they put me in a seat. They put me directly in ESL, but they put me in 3A or something like that.
You already just leveled up.
But they tested me. They're like, no, you need to be like 5A or something. I don't remember exactly, but they pushed me right away. And when I transitioned to college, they made us take a test called TOEFL. I think it's like English as a second language in college.
Okay. Sarah's like, yo, I know what you're talking about here.
So, we got freshmen to college, University of Minnesota. We walked in. We were just having fun, and all the African kids are just in the same class. Hey, how you doing, brother? Oh, we're same class, And the teacher's going one by one doing attendance, and she didn't call my name. And I said, teacher, you didn't call my name. She goes, what's your name? I said, Abeselom, Semere. She's like, oh, no, you're not supposed to be here. You're with the regular kids, I turned around and I was like, peace out, Pops. But they were my best friends, so no harm, no foul.
No, they knew it's good.
But they're like, oh, you can't leave us,
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was fun. It was good. good spirits.
You mentioned you're kind of like high school. You met some friends that helped with the transition as
Yeah.
well. You mentioned that also that you for a second you would spend a lot of time by yourself.
Hmm.
Since you had an older brother, he must have been in high school as well. Did you hang out with him?
His story is a little bit different.
Uh,
He actually came to America 9 months after we did.
oh,
So he was 17, getting ready to transition to 18. Our government would not give him the exit visa
because of the war.
because of the war. They were like,
Oh,
actually, they denied me, my younger brother. They approved my dad, but my dad fought so hard that my younger brother and myself were approved finally.
mm,
Even though America gave us the entrance visa, our country would not give us the exit visa. After fighting for so long, my dad approved it. Approved me and my younger brother, but my older brother, they absolutely said no. So he actually had to cross through the border. So his story is way crazier than mine, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing his story because his story is way better than mine. I'll tell you this.
we didn't say
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
So
that's powerful.
he spent quite a bit in the wilderness, trying to figure it out. And 9 months later, as you can see, I'm a little bit light skinned person. When he came, he was so dark because he spent so much in the desert. So he had to go to Sudan, and for about 9 months, 8 months, we did not know where he was. To be honest with you, and he was 17, transitioned to 18. So at some point, by the grace of God, he was able to make a phone call, reach us, and we were elated. Processed his paperwork, came to America. They directly pushed him to go into high school. He finished high school because that's just to us, education is very important.
Right. Yeah.
But one thing they didn't take into consideration was his mental state, as far as like what you went through is
Yeah,
crazy.
dude. Yeah.
So take time to brace yourself. But they just pushed him to a high school, finished, went to college, did 2 years trying to get an engineering degree. It wasn't for him. He's always been, like I told you in the beginning, more into sports,
Yeah.
karate, like active stuff, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And so he enlisted into the U.S. Army. He did 2 years in Iraq, 2 years in Afghanistan. He got his honorable discharge, came back to Minnesota 2011, got his degree in law enforcement. Now he's a deputy sheriff with the Minneapolis St. Paul Police Department. Yeah. And then he was the last one to come to America, but he was the first one to become a citizen. That's my brother. Yeah, so
There are not many people built like that, my friend.
no, not at all. I tell his story all the time. I'm giving you the watered down version, to be honest, but that's why I have so much respect for him, because not only for what he has gone, but his perspective about what he has gone.
Sure.
Because all of us go through stuff in life,
Right.
but not all of us can take what life has given us.
Mm.
But him, he turned it, and he went through that pressure, but ended up becoming a diamond.
Um. Going from high school entering college, did you already knew what you wanted to do? Did you already kind of was like, I know my path is, I know what I want to get after.
I've always wanted to be a pilot.
Oh.
I did. But when I came to America, I saw the United States Air Force booth at the high school. I was
Mm.
like, my chance to go. And when I was about to sign, and the guy goes, "Hey, are you a citizen?" At the time, I'm a citizen now, but at the time I was a permanent resident, and I said, "No, I'm a permanent resident." He goes, "Sorry, we only take citizens,"
Mm.
which I found out 2 years ago that it was a lie. I can actually enlist in the U.S. Air Force even as a permanent resident. So that kind of derailed me because I was naive,
Wow.
novice. I did not know how to go through the journey of figuring out how I can make it happen.
Right.
So I decided to become a business owner. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my own money and buy my own plane, anyways. So,
Let's go.
so I decided to become
That's
a
such a
business
good
owner. Yeah,
that is the tinkering in you.
yeah,
I'm gonna be a problem solver
yeah.
here.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just,
I'm
yeah.
getting in this airplane.
Yeah.
Come hell or high
I've,
water.
I've taken my first class as well too. I've flown my own, not my own yet, but I've flown a plane. Just had a control and all that stuff, flaps,
Congrats,
all that
man.
stuff. So
How long ago was that?
that was during COVID. So about 2.5 years.
Wow.
So I
That
haven't
must have been
continued.
monumental.
Yeah,
That just like that transition to the how school for you. You mentioned it was education is a big part. You also mentioned your father's a little street savvy. Your mother's more of a homebody. She makes
Mhm.
sure that everyone's going well. She has that disciplinary,
yeah.
right? But outside of that, is there anyone else who has these like higher degrees or?
Yeah, my brother, like I said, he got his degree in law enforcement. I have
Oh
cousins.
no, I mean like in terms of was that I thought you got your degree before him? No,
No, actually I did.
right?
Because
So
he was an army. while I was doing going to school, high school, college, if that makes
So
sense.
no exam. You're like in your family probably
I have cousins in different states and all that stuff, but in my immediate family, I was the first one to graduate. Yeah, you know,
wow.
it was a natural path to walk.
Right, right, right.
I know we all have ups and downs, and we all have challenges in life, but once you put something in your mind, it's like everything else is no thought.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things I think is really interesting about college, not only is you mentioned that you kind of like make new friends and you interact with different people, you also get to understand a little bit more about the occupation,
Yeah.
right? About like what you want to do. But there is something special about your relationship with love as it transitions from in with like high school into that kind of like
Yeah.
you know high school, I mean college, right, realm. What is your relationship with like with love, relationships with other women and other people?
I've always seen myself as a giver. You know, it was hard for me to write a book or to publish it because I needed to make sure that I lived the book.
Mm.
Integrity and being real with myself is more important to me than how other people see me.
Mm.
And so when it comes to, because my foundation personally is like that, I never put myself in the position where I'm in the position to hurt somebody, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Have I? Absolutely.
Right.
But consciously and intentionally, absolutely not. Till today, some of my best friends are actually people of 20 years, 21 years now, and we never had a fight, never had like any type of argument, because to me relationships are very important. Whether it's with people, with guys, women, father, mother, doesn't matter.
Mm.
So yeah.
And I feel like as you go through college, are you more focused on just like your studies?
No, I was more into partying.
Oh, really?
I did good. I mean, I did good in school. I graduated with like, let's say, B plus average.
Sure.
I didn't study too much, I'll be honest, because it never really interested me. But I felt like that was just a natural thing to do. I paid attention here and there in business class, but at the same time, I also focused on building my relationship with my community as well too. So I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I'm actually in a fraternity, one of the Divine Nine.
Oh,
I'm a Kappa.
yo.
I'm a Kappa Alpha Psi. So I'm a noob.
Yo,
I'm a
that's
noob.
awesome. I
Yeah.
wanted to join. I was, part of my, second life. I was a, kind of a two. Sarah knows, you know what I'm saying? Shout outs to the noobs out there.
Absolutely. So I joined the fraternity.
Mm.
During my probate, I did my traditional dance in front of 400 people, trying to introduce my country into the world.
Mm.
And I was a big stepper.
Mm.
So that was my way of giving back to my fraternity. It didn't come naturally to me, but I practiced so many times because I was had two left feet, as they say. Things didn't take. It took time for me to catch on to coordination.
Sure.
But because I practiced so much, I was actually one of the best steppers that we had during my era, if that makes sense.
Get excited.
Yeah, we traveled to different states. We won a couple of championships. Yep. And my favorite show I ever done was in 2010. It was my last year in school. Actually, I just finished school, but I was just lingering, for like 2 3 months. We did a step show. It's called the Midwest Greek Step Show. It's one of the biggest step shows in Minnesota. We never won it before. Noobs never really won, but I told my LB, I was like, hey, let's do this, man. We're gonna win this year. He's like, nah, we always lose. Nah. I was like, we're gonna do this, man. He didn't do it. I did it. We ended up winning the championship. So that was my salute to the university, and my way of saying I'm out.
You had this like, it's almost a sense of like you wanted to be excellent. You wanted to show people around you that like what is possible. It's really cool to see you kind of transition to that space. You also mentioned connecting with your community. You're talking about obviously there's no one from where you're from here. How was that kind of like getting assimilated to the American life, um, and trying to connect and relate to some of these people who grew up in their early years? I mean, I guess you did have like Nintendo and stuff that kind of could find connections, but how was that connecting with people from a whole different world, different walks of life? Minnesota is like not as like it's not California,
Not at all. So yes, we watched movies and all that stuff back home. Kind of
Right.
gives the idea of what America might be, but it was completely different than what you expected.
Right.
The weather being the first thing. And then number two is, so I'll give you a good example. I told you earlier, for about 2 weeks, I never ate lunch
Mm.
because I just did not know what the protocol was. But once I mustered the courage, I was like, what are you doing right there? I followed somebody, got my chicken patty, and I was about to pass the lunch lady that does the pin code, and I wasn't gonna even put any pin code because I had no pin code. I was just going to pass. She was like, hey, what are you doing? I said, eating lunch, you know. And she said, no, you have to put your code. And I said, what code? You know, I have nothing, no code. Oh, he must be new. I said, yeah. Okay, I'll give you this free lunch today, but get the sign tomorrow and come back. Bring it to me. I said, cool. But as soon as I passed her, like it was almost as if time stood still.
Mm.
So all I can see is just this abyss and sea of students. Everybody was sitting at their own table. So the African Americans were sitting with their own group,
Mm.
Asian folks with their Asian folks, and there were a lot of what do you call it, Vietnamese and Laos people from in Minnesota as well too.
Mm.
African kids with the African kids, the white folks with the white folks. You know what I'm saying? Band with the band, kind of like I wouldn't say segregated, but you can tell that there's heavy percentage of people
Clicks.
clicking. You know, so the first thing I saw was like skin color. All right, cool. Seriously, this is my thought process. So I
Right.
went sat down with the African American kids and because they look like me. And the first question I get asked while I'm eating my lunch is the kid goes, "Hey, cuz, what's with it, cuz?" You know,
Mm.
he's saying hello. But to me, I
Mm.
was raised in British English. I understand. Hello, how are you? You know. He said, I said, what's with it? Needless to say, that was the cool kids club. I realized now, and he goes like, never mind, bro. He just turns his face. You know. Next day, guess what? Day number 2, go sit down with the white folks. No connection. You
Right.
know, and ultimately the group that accepted me was my African crowd. You know what? I actually wrote in a book about that.
Wow.
It wasn't necessarily about skin color,
Mm.
but it's about the consciousness.
Mm.
We vibrate at a certain frequencies. It doesn't matter if you're green, white, yellow, black. Your color does not matter. What matters is how you vibrate, the kind of spirit that you carry, and and obviously your personal background experience um, gives you that kind of consciousness, if that makes sense. So I got to hang out with them, and they accepted me. It was just as if it was just like the gloves fitting in.
Mm.
And I stated specifically, it was not that the skin color that separated us; it was our awareness of who we are as an individual. So that was one of the transitioning point that I had in my life. But I used to wear shoes called Fuya. You ever heard of that before?
No.
You know, you've heard of Fuba?
I heard of Fubu.
Fubu? Oh, you're right. You're right. My bad. I made a mistake. Fuba. That's what I had. So I'm fresh off the boat, you know, sitting in the gym class, shorts on, you know, and everybody sitting at the bench waiting for the coach to show up.
Mm.
And this kid that was next to me, he just, and he does double take on my shoes, you know. He goes, "Hey, what is that?" Gets close. "Hey, everybody, he got fake shoes on. He got fake shoes on, you know. Instead of Fubu, my shoes was Fuba from Africa, you know.
No.
Here's the kicker. It's not about where you're from, it's where you're at.
Mm.
I've always had my greatest strength in life, I think, is adaptation. You know, you have to be able to adapt to your environment. And beyond that, you have to be able to transcend your environment. What does that mean? Instead of just being part of the crowd, you also have to lead from the crowd, if that makes sense. Um, and so I did start Eritrean Student Association while I was at the University of Minnesota. I did. I had a Eritrean fellow frat brother that was from the same country as I was, but he was never really like in the public eye, if that makes sense. So I don't want to take the credit, to be honest, but for the most part, people saw me being in a fraternity that opened up a lot of people to join fraternity from our country, from Ethiopia, from Somalia, if that makes sense. So I was one of the first ones to join fraternity, which was something new to everybody, especially
Sure.
if you're an African kid. But I always have this hunger to get better, to improve myself, and I really like, for quote unquote, I really don't care about what people think about me,
Mm.
as long as I'm following the beat of my own heart, if that makes sense. The beat.
What year was this?
Fraternity. I joined fraternity 2007.
Oh, so this is right before things start popping off. This is right before things start happening.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
So when you wait, what is your kind of what is your relationship with your mother and your father during this kind of like college time?
That's a great question. So, um, obviously our parents, they believe in education,
Right.
and if you're not going for engineering, lawyer,
Yeah.
doctor, you're doing something wrong type of
Mm.
stuff. But still, I still followed my heart, if that makes sense, which was to be in business. Um, we never really clashed because I did stay at home during college years.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest clash, if you call it, is when I was joining the fraternity. There were a lot of late nights
Yeah.
studying, all that stuff. So my parents couldn't really understand what I was doing. All they're seeing is I'm coming home late, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of because during my probate, there were in my line, everybody's made. We had 10 in my line. I was number four. And so when I did my introduction, I said, "Cool, cool, cool." By way of Asmara, Eritrea. My line brother did that, and as soon as it happens, the beat drops for our culture's music, and in the front row was my dad,
Wow.
my mom, my older brother, my younger brother, my sister, and then my best friend Mahari, and I had everybody on the outside just doing our traditional dance that we did. So at that point, they kind of understood what I was doing a little bit, especially when I was traveling and doing volunteer services. But throughout the whole process, they didn't understand it. But I just kept going, if that makes sense.
You
Um,
had this sense of following your own
you have to.
path. That's so. That seems so scary coming from a place where you have no other real resource or support. Your brother's off in the military. You're like
Yeah.
you're like you know you're I don't know how your little brother's doing, but I imagine he's just entering college, if not
Yeah,
just
he's
graduating.
33, so he's actually has a managerial job with Delta. So
Okay.
he's doing phenomenal. My younger sister is one of the top reps in her company. Older brother is, like I said, deputy sheriff with the Minneapolis Police Department.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
they're doing very well in their own way, but all of us need to find our own way as well too.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always tell people like you got to have a little bit of faith.
Mm.
Especially if we claim to believe in God.
Mm.
Most of us verbalize it, but we don't actualize it.
Right.
You know, and so um, like faith. What did I say? What do I say? Risk is only a factor in the absence of faith. If you
Mm.
have faith, there's no risk.
Right.
Yeah, obviously there's danger, but if it's calculated, you have to be able to step outside your comfort zone. All the growth happens outside our comfort zone, if that makes sense. Even for you guys starting the podcast,
Yo.
I'm sure in the beginning was scary. You didn't figure it out, but guess what? We are all just like a small seed that's been planted. It doesn't go from seed to tree in one day.
Wow.
Today is going to take some water. Tomorrow is going to take some sunshine. Next day, some other material that it needs. But guess what? Slowly but surely, in its own time, it grows. Same as your podcast. Same as the book. When people ask me, "How did you write the book?"
Mm.
One word at a time. My
Mm.
fiance was a testament because she was there with me throughout the whole process. She actually helped me edit it as well too,
Mm.
and she's helped me edit the book number two as well too. So we kind of made like a family thing. But every day, every single day, I had to do something to make it progress, the book. So some days I get inspired and I write 3, 4, 5, 10 pages.
Mm.
Other days, just a word.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But as long as I'm starting, as long as I'm moving forward, I know I couldn't fail. And that's the kind of philosophy I take in everything that I do in life.
You graduate college. You're now going through your work years, right? Right. You get to meet your fiance.
Yeah.
How early was what was that time period in between that 2 points?
So when I graduated from college 2009.
Mm.
This is during the market crash, housing market
Right.
crash.
Yeah.
So all the things that I was told, go to school, get education, get a good job, was not there for me.
Right.
I'm here 22 years old trying to compete with people that have 10, 15, 20-year job experience.
Yikes.
And they're like, "Oh, we would hire you, but get experience." That old adage. Well, hire me so I can get some experience type of
Right.
situation. But because I was so not genuinely aggressive in my approach, I beat out a lot of people to get to the second, third, and fourth interviews.
Interview.
But they used to always what at the end of the day, sorry. So I had marketing. My degree is in marketing.
Mm.
So I answered an ad that says marketing. This is from Craigslist. I'm like, they called me. I was like, yes, they called me.
Mm.
Go to this interview, some crazy office, and they said, okay, meet this guy on this field at Caribou Coffee. It's like Starbucks in Minnesota.
Mm.
I sit with this guy, and he showed me numbers. I didn't care. They were just hiring me to have a job.
Yeah.
I was like,
Like,
cool. I took it.
right.
Guess what we were doing? This is my first experience door knocking.
Hey.
-10 degrees.
Oh snap! It's like you. It's like it's like you came back here all over again.
you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, exactly. I'm like, what is this, 2002 again? But I have not left Minnesota yet. So was I was like, I'm knocking doors, and the door that opens, this guy is doing my mentor. He's doing a presentation. Guess what we were trying to sell?
uh, okay, frozen snow selling. In what year is this?
This is probably like 2020, 2010.
You must be selling like either certs, like selling cell phones, or I don't know,
Was
DTV, internet,
chocolate and fudge.
chocolate and fudge. Holy smokes!
That was my first entrance into business.
I'm like trying
yeah.
to like think like it's a good product, right? Like,
Yo, the guy saying, yeah, you can melt this, you can make hot cocoa. Da, da, da. I'm like, what is this? What kind of job is this? This is not what they advertised.
right.
So I told the guy, I was like, hey, man, I'm sorry, man. My sister's calling me. I got to go.
Mm.
I left. I'm searching for jobs. Nobody's hiring me. I called him back after a week. I was like, hey, JT, I'm sorry for running away. I literally did run away because I was like, what is this? This is
Right.
not the job that I know of. Hey, I'm sorry. I ran away. If you're able to take me back, I will be one of your number one guys. You're the only one that's offering me an opportunity,
Right.
not a job. You're the only one that's offering me work. You're the only one that's offering me an opportunity. So if you can have me back, it was 1099 commission. He said, "Oh, absolutely, come back." Came back. That is the real start of me learning business or going into business, working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Door knocking and going business. I got promoted to business now. Fixing chips and cracks on windshield,
Yo, windshield.
windshield repair. Have you done that before?
Yo, windshield game is so dope. You should just go run up people. Yo, man, there's a chip on your windshield. We're gonna have to fix that, right? Actually, there's no loss. It's just
Yeah,
no
yeah,
false
look.
states. No false states. You
Bro,
can
and I'll
knock
tell
it
you
out.
that.
That's
So,
crazy.
We used to put snow in our jacket. I still have the jacket. Yeah.
Yo, he got the hustle. Yo, I'm sorry.
I still have the jacket
Right.
that I wore 2010.
Shoot.
It's down in my closet right here, right there with me because it's
Wow.
such a big memory because it kept me warm without being too fluffy, if that makes sense. So,
Right.
so I got it from my younger brother, but it's my favorite jacket, one of my favorite jackets. So we go.
Yeah,
in there.
yeah, Sarah. One of his favorite jackets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
So-
I'm getting like this is sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, bro.
My bad.
Yeah.
bad.
We knock, hey, how are you? My name is Abe. We were just helping Joe down the street with his mechanic. Did he tell you we were going to come today? No? Okay, no worries. What we're doing today is we're just fixing chips and cracks on windshield.
Wow.
Minnesota is no fault state, so the worst you can get out of this is a clean windshield. Which one is your car again? The people will say, no, we're okay, we're good. No, ma'am, I don't think you heard me. Minnesota is no fault state, so it's not going to cost you anything out of pocket. It's not going to be reported to your insurance, which is true. But the worst you can get out of this is a clean windshield. Which one is your car again? We go outside, put snow on the windshield to get the water. Wipe. If we find the chip or crack in the windshield, we come back and say, I don't know if you noticed, but there's actually a chip on your windshield. People are like, there is? Show me, which is true.
Right.
There's not, and we show them, hey, I can fix it for you for $20, or we can do insurance claim real quick, but it's not going to cost you. It's not going to raise your rates because, like I said, it's true. Minnesota's because there's so much.
No,
crime.
you're not.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so-
know. Yeah.
So we fix them and come after 12 hours a day. Sometimes we come with 0. Sometimes we come with 5 deals. Sometimes we come with this. And I was creative in the sense that I got them introduced to 2 things that changed their business before I left that industry.
Right.
Number 1 was gas stations.
Game changing.
I said, hey, I went to the gas station. I told the owner at the time, JT, hey, if I can make this contract happen, would you allow us to work at the gas station? That JT is the owner of the company I was working with. He said, absolutely. So what we did is we created a system with the owner of the gas station. Hey, we'll stand here. We will wipe the windshields of every client that's coming in. That's free service that you are providing for them.
Right.
And for us, if we find a chip or crack in the windshield, we can fix it for them. Deal or no deal? It's a deal. And we had like 5, 6, 7 gas stations doing that. And then I also introduced them to car dealerships, used car dealerships. Hey, you guys have a ton of cars right here. You can either replace the full windshield, or we can fix it for you guys at a wholesale cost. Let's do it. Did that, So I've always been like innovative in that sense that I kind of helped them with that, But that was my intro into business sales. Then transitioned to business sales with Comcast. Well, made 150% club my first month with them. But I've always had this hunger of being my own person. I never had anybody to put their thumb on me. No matter, I'd rather make $50,000 working for myself
Mm.
than make 150 to $200,000 having to clock in.
Right.
That's just my philosophy.
Right.
And so freedom to me is priceless.
Right.
And so
Wow.
got into Comcast sales, but then I transitioned to, have you heard of the business called Primerica?
Of course.
Primerica is when my philosophy in life changed,
Mm.
because Primerica had a huge self-development attached to it.
Right.
But unfortunately, the office that I was working out of in Minnesota, even though it was the same company as any company in California or other states, their system was different
Mm.
when it comes to recruiting. Even so, I was one of the top recruiters, even beating people in California. I was number 9 in the nation at some months, because I was such a go-getter, such a hard worker, working 16-hour days, to the point that I was losing relationships,
Mm.
relationships with my family,
Right.
friends, people that I was seeing at the time, just like drifted because I was so gung ho, like believing that if I can make this happen, everything will change.
Right.
That was the carrot that I was dangling in front of my face, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so after technically losing, not making any money for a while, once I understood that California had different system of running Primerica, it's kind of like being drafted into the NFL,
Right.
but it makes a difference which team you're going to get drafted to.
Yeah. Facts.
System's going to be different. So once I realized that it was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life, in 2017, I made a decision to move to California.
Wow.
Never been in California. No
Wow.
friends, no family. I just knew that California was where I needed to go. So I gave myself 6 months to spend as much time as possible with my family, my friends. Had a ton of blast of time, spent quality time with everybody. And in August, which is to this month,
Wow.
August 28th of 2017, woke up 3 in the morning. I gave a kiss to my mom, a hug to my dad, and I just drove to California. Went straight to Denver. Denver was the middle spot. Spent the night in Denver, picked up again, drove my Camry all the way to California, and I got in like on a Wednesday at 1 in the morning. No friends, no family, never been in here in my life.
Wow.
I just knew that I'm going to be in this office right here. No Instagram, nothing. I did not know how to recruit through online.
Right.
Everything that I did was, hi,
Shaking
how are you?
hands. Yeah.
Do you keep your options open? Yes or no?
Is it-
Hi,
Yep.
how are you? Prospecting at the
Yep.
Walmarts.
Same thing that you learned
Yep.
when you were. Yeah. Wow.
Prospecting at the Macy's, at the mall, this and that. And in 6 months, starting from scratch, I was the number one. I hit all my goals and broke all the records that I ever held in Minnesota in 6 years, 7 years.
Mm.
And within a year and a half of being in California, going from zero, prospecting to 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, all the in a year and a half, I became the number one regional leader in our office, qualified for my regional vice president position. But at the time is when I decided to go a different direction, because when I look back, I think I was doing it not necessarily to change my life, but to prove that I can do it.
He proved himself.
And so throughout that transition, I went homeless a couple of times, twice. First time, I was sleeping in my car. The second time, somebody ran into my car, totaled it for like 3 to 5 months. I was homeless. I was sleeping inside hotel stairwells. I was sleeping inside movie theaters, Planet Fitnesses. So for 2 years, I came to California in 2017. I went back to see my family 2019. And even though they were saying, hey, let's come, can we come visit you? How was California? Everything's
Jesus.
great, Mom. Everything's great, Dad. But having to make a decision between eating ramen or saving that dollar for the next day type of situation. I never miss an appointment. Taking bus from Ontario to Whittier, from Los Angeles to here, walking from city to city. You ever seen that?
Oh, yo.
You ever seen that cartoon where the guy was carrying a
Yep.
sack on his back?
On the like railroad tracks or something. Like, yep.
I was a modern version of him because I had a backpack,
Yo.
But I was number one salesperson in the solar business that I was in at the time. And then at 2019, once I felt like I'm ready to go back to Minnesota to see my family, is when I went back, a different person. Probably is one of the best thing I've done for myself, because it made me create the type of person that I am right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you spent some time in California. I feel like a lot of people come to California only for the dream, right? It's like the picture perfect kind of space. You do that. You create it.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that there was a point in time you felt like it just wasn't it, and you literally lost it all, right? Gave it all away,
Yeah,
um, and became really humbled, you know.
yeah.
But but like you didn't blame anything. There was no like, man, fuck the world. Da, da, da. This is like, there was no
No.
external like this is no fault. How was that kind of internal battle?
Um, I just believe that if it's going to be, it's up to me.
Hmm.
That is a cliche because a lot of us do use that, but I literally felt that and lived that. If that makes sense, it was easy for me because I have such a caring family. If I had told them, "Hey, come pick me up. I'm struggling right now," guess what? They would have been there yesterday.
Right.
But I knew that, like every human being, we have to go through our own. We are on Earth to have a character development program,
Yo.
you know, and so everything that I do is building my character. So especially if I put a word out and I said, "This is what I'm going to do," I am going to do it. That's why I usually keep my goals to myself, which is a key to achieving a lot of things because um, you don't want to be held or binded by your word, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So whatever I'm doing, even when I was writing the book, kept my mouth shut, just working. Once the work was done, here you go, world type of
Hmm.
situation, But I never really blamed anybody. I just knew that I just need to get better. I 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 need to get better mentality, because I was big into self development. Taking accountability for your misery, if that makes sense. Especially in America, you know, we can go down the street and feed ourselves with $1.
Yeah.
You know, we can go to a workforce place and say, "Hey, I need a job. Give me a warehouse job." You know, I remember clearly this because when I was going from college years into where I am right now,
Right.
I've seen a lot of things, and one
Right.
of the most amazing compliments I received was I was doing roofing. What do you call it? Checking roof damage, hail
Like
damages.
inspections and stuff.
Yeah, so this guy saw me carrying my ladder from my Honda that I had at the time. Rated it. He said, "Young man," the owner of the home is sitting on the ground. He says, "Young man, how old are you?" I said, "What, 23, 24." "I wish you were my son," type of situation.
Wow.
Because my son right here, he doesn't do anything. Because we all, almost all of us are dealt with the same hand,
Mm.
but not all of us play the same way. And for me, I just know that I need to get better. I need to get better.
Wait, hold up. You're climbing on roofs, checking for hail damage, and you have a degree?
Nobody was hiring.
You're a lot of people have this ego that they wouldn't
Yeah.
do something like that, man.
Yep.
A
And
lot of people.
especially in Minnesota, because Minnesota is one of the most highly educated states. College is very important to a lot of people.
Right.
There's a lot of white collar, but most of white collars are not willing to roll up their sleeve and get
Mm.
dirty and change the oil, if that makes sense. Not
Right.
necessarily change the oil, but like get dirty. Like if I have to survive, I have to survive.
Right.
I'm not gonna wait for somebody to feed me. I'm gonna go find it, if that makes sense. As long as it's ethical, it's moral, it's good for people, it's good for me. There's no, like, if somebody can do it, I can do it type of mentality.
Mm.
But there were a lot of people that felt entitled, that never really went out, tried something new.
Wow.
Could be fear,
Wow.
could be ego, but whatever it is, whatever your cup of tea is that's making you not work, um, I mean, that's not mine.
So why was it when after this kind of homelessness and you felt like this was kind of the lowest point, you get to yourself to a point where you go back home. Why was it you mentioned that was a really big important time going back home? You said in 2019, right?
2019, yeah.
That was COVID time, right?
No, before COVID, yeah.
That was right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, was it because of that?
No, just, um, I felt like, because in my mind when I left, I'm not going back home empty-handed.
Mm.
That was it.
Okay.
That was set in stone. You know what I'm saying? So kind of like get rich or die trying type of mentality.
Right.
It's, and richness, I realize, not necessarily about materialistic.
Mm.
Richness is about how free your soul is.
Mm.
Everything that we do in life is to have a free soul. No matter how much money you have, is thinking because it's going to get me to a happy place. But most of us chase that, we attain that, and we think we've attained something, so we stop searching.
Right.
But for me, before I got money, a little bit of money, whatever that I have, I found God. And I'll tell you the reason for this is I attribute this to a lot of my mentors, but specifically to a guy named Mark. He was helping me door knock. He was such an amazing individual. I mentioned him a little bit in the book. very joyful attitude. Like at the doors, I've never seen somebody so joyful at the doors. And he knew of my situation, being homeless and taking bus and all that stuff. But I was still what out there grinding.
Doing your thing.
And that's one day I said, Mark, how do you do, man? Like every door that we hit, you're so joyful, you're so excited, so happy. He goes, Abe, he said, I know you, I know your situation. You are very positive thinker.
Mm.
You're always believing that tomorrow's going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
But Abe, he says, there's different things. There's something different than being positive thinker. You got to have a positive state of being. Positive thinking, positive state of being. I said, what? And I've been reading about this, and I've been philosophizing, I've been meditating, da 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 da. So what do you mean? He goes, see, you're thinking tomorrow is going to get better. So by the time tomorrow comes, it becomes today. So tomorrow never really comes. You know what I'm saying? So, but
Holy.
but
Yo.
so when he said that, so you got to find happiness today, right now, where you are. Light bulb. Guess what? I still was homeless, but my attitude was different.
Mm.
Now I'm not longer a positive thinker saying, okay, once I get that deal, I'm gonna be okay. Now it's like, I'm good. I'm good.
Mm.
When I was in the streets in Ontario, I used to sleep, like I said, stairwells. I used to have a suite as well too. My suite was Ontario Airport right here,
Mm.
10th floor. There's a sofa section. I used to pull the sofa and I sleep behind the sofa. So the security couldn't find me.
Wow.
But even though I was going through that, I was more joyful than the person that just won a lottery type of situation. I felt like I knew I found peace. I found that inner joy and peace, which is what I'm trying to teach people right now, is not necessarily teach, but help people, guide people to find inner joy and peace. Because all of us think it's tomorrow, it's once I get that girl, once I get that house, once I get that car, once I go to that vacation that I'm going to be. So if you're that, you're always going to be in a state of chasing. And normally, when people say I'm a dream chaser, why aren't you a dream liver?
Mm.
Just because you can't see it just because you cannot vibrate with it right now, just because you don't have it in your finger, that does not mean you couldn't have the feeling of being rich today, and that can change in 5 seconds. And so that's how the book was born, because I had so much information that I knew of.
Right.
Because there's something, information can be on you, or it can also be in you. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is information that we are acquiring.
Right.
Wisdom is gained from the experience that we've lived.
Right.
It's kind of like somebody telling somebody, "Hey, the fire is hot, don't touch it,"
Mm.
versus putting their hand in the fire.
And they touch it.
Now,
Yeah.
it's a different game. Now I know.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So when he told me that you gotta have positive state of being, it just kind of like me the focal point.
Right.
Change my mindset. Start doing better in life. And so that was like in June, July, August, September. September is when I got an apartment with a good friend of mine, Jay. He's a phenomenal fitness coach, Jay Stone Fitness. Um, but I was a roommate with him for a little bit, and once I felt like I was ready, September, October, so November for August for Thanksgiving is when I went back to my family. So now there was different aura.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There was different look in the eye.
Yeah.
There's contentments with the exuberance of confidence,
Mm.
And I bought my dad the biggest TV that they had at the time. Didn't tell him. Went to Best Buy and I said, "Dad, come pick me up real quick." And he brought his Lexus. And he's a proud father. He looked at it, he goes, I said, "It's for you. It's for you, Dad." So those kind of moments,
Mm.
being able to give back to the family, is all I lived for. But to be told I don't need that from you, from my dad, was hard to swallow, because I was losing so much in life.
Mm.
But every time I'm losing, I tell him, "I'm doing this for you guys. I'm doing for no." They said, "No, I need you. I don't need you to do stuff for me. I need you." Mentality.
Mm.
So once I left for 2 years, I didn't see my family, my friends, nobody. Kept my nose to the grindstone, worked my butt off as much as I could. Now I have my own solar business, a couple of reps, couple of canvassers. We recently just got published on the Upland magazine.
Yo, I was taking a look at that,
Oh,
dude.
yeah. You saw that?
It looks so good.
Yeah,
It looks so good.
yeah.
How did you two meet? How did you and your fiance?
So
Is it? And I want to pronounce your name right. Is it Suzar? Susan.
Susan,
Susan. Okay.
yeah, um, my right hand person,
Yeah.
truly a gift from God, and I'm not exaggerating. Most of us say that for word, like for verbiage purposes,
Mm.
but actually, I wrote her down.
Mm.
Most of us say, I need this kind of person. I need this person. I need him to be this tall, this height. I need her to be this kind of shape, da da da, this kind of hair thinness or thickness. We have this vision that we try to have in our mind, and if it doesn't fit that mold, we discard it.
Right.
Not knowing that that could have been the best person for us.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? Since I'm playing with this meditation visualization thing, I'm gonna take a serious type of situation. So I wrote down 4 categories: spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. Spiritually, what kind of individual do I want to have in my life?
Mm.
Somebody that's spiritually open, especially me coming from an Orthodox Christian background. If you read a little bit of the book, I'm a little bit open. It does not negate those, but actually goes deeper
Right.
in the teaching, if that makes sense, without attachment of religion. Spiritually open per individual, somebody that's mentally, somebody that has a positive mindset, very like has a good outlook on life, very kind. Number 3 is emotional,
Mm.
somebody that's stable.
Mm.
Stability is very important to me. So somebody that's very stable in life emotionally, that does not, go from 0 to 100 real quick type of situation.
Right.
And then number 4 was physically somebody that is beautiful, attractive. I have my
Mm.
own details in there, you know what I'm saying, which came true. So I wrote that down and blessed it and say thank you, Lord. Kind of like let it go. And maybe I wrote this maybe like 2019, maybe 2018, something like that.
Right.
And so just let it go, just do my life, do my own thing. I was not searching where is she, because that's one thing that we do as human beings is we cancel our own prayers
Mm.
by witnessing to what we don't have instead of accepting what we've already been blessed with spiritually. And so if you're looking, where is it, you're always going to be in the mode of what? Searching.
Right.
But if you are in the mode of accepting, in its own time, the universe is going to align itself to bring what you need in life.
Right.
So I'm just doing my thing, and COVID hit. Everybody was shut down. And my sister goes, she was there in Minnesota. I'm here in California, right? She goes, a Bush, that's my nickname. Bush, get on IG real quick. They're doing Eritrean dance competition, like on live.
Right.
A guy named DJ Sammy, phenomenal DJ from the Bay Area. He was doing live DJs. So I hopped on, and I said request to join, and guess what? He accepted me, and I had my shirt that says homegrown. There's a guy named John. He's my fraternity brother. He makes the shirt called homegrown, so it had homegrown, but with Eritrea, my country.
Mm.
It was badass, like nobody has seen that before. And so I'm dancing, smiling, and all you see is just like, people talking. Oh, who's that guy? Who's that guy? And I was blessed enough to find this young lady.
Wow.
Yep. So yes, she followed me first, but I slid in the DM.
Let's go.
I guess I swear to you, we're about to get married now.
Wow.
September 2nd is our wedding date. It's been such a lovely union. Match made in heaven, I can say, because we get along very well.
Wow.
When it comes to relationships, see, to a man, there are 3 things that are very important.
Mm.
First and foremost, above anything else, is your relationship with God.
Mm.
Whatever you want to call it, we're all worshiping and praying to the same thing under different names, but you have to have a relationship with God no matter what. Number 2, you got to have a purpose in life as a man, I believe. Like when Adam was created, he didn't have Eve for the first time. He had what? Work.
Work.
He was tilling the ground. He was naming the animals, whatever the case might be. So a man has to have a purpose more than just a job, you know, something that you're pursuing. And then the third thing is you have to have somebody that is your equal half, that's keeping you stable, balanced. And so for me, she's that. Um, we get along very, very well. We have a lot of things in common. We enjoy life. We want to live adventurous life. Some because she was in Michigan at the time. For 8 months or so, everything that we did was through FaceTime.
What's the year is this?
This is 2020.
Okay, so this is during
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Everything is like this is like
Yeah.
everything shut down.
Yeah,
Nobody knew what
right,
was going on.
right.
So we met around March, April. We met in person in on November,
Mm.
and so for 8 months or so, whatever that time frame is, all we did was FaceTime. So we really got to know each other. But more than just get to know each other on the surface level,
Right.
I was like, let's read a book. So the first book that we read was The Five Love Languages,
Mm.
because we've read since I don't know how many books together. So in our home, if you see, there's like two of everything, maybe like 5 to 10 books. I'm
Yo,
somewhere in
that is
between.
perfect.
Because yeah, I
Right.
think people should do that.
Oh yeah.
The reasons, because we can say, hey, I like you, you're cute, I like you, you're sexy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond the deep level conversation for most of us, like, tell me about your life, which is
Mm.
great. But when you're reading a book together, they're gonna bring up context and topics that is not biased to either one of you.
Yeah.
But if you're reading them together and we make an appointment, not necessarily appointment, but we plan to speak about it before we go to bed together, guess what? My dad told me this, one of the greatest advice my dad gave me. The hardest part about a relationship is putting two minds into one.
Mm.
How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
If Because we've been reading, because first and foremost, she's very receptive as far like wanting to grow, wanting to learn.
Mm.
I'm the same way as well too. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
self-development fanatic.
Right.
So when we read, let's say for example, the Five Love Languages, we're discussing the book. So something that has meant something to her might not have been something that meant a lot to me.
Right. Right.
But if
Right.
she's explaining to me, not only can she explain to me in a way that I have not seen it, but also understand what kind of person she is,
Mm.
how she thinks. The next book would have been Love and Respect. I think that was Love and Respect.
That's
by
a great book, by the
Dr.
way.
Emerson.
Right. Right. Right.
We read it together. So we've built our relationship. The foundation is outside our physicality.
Mm.
Is our foundation is spiritual, mental, emotional. Physical comes last. But because all these three are in alignment, the physical part is just puppy love almost.
And you guys almost write this book together.
So yeah, we wrote, but she helped me edit it.
Mhm.
The book typically came from me 100%.
Right.
But she was my biggest help as far as like editing.
Mm.
Like sometimes, even though as an author, even though you write something you think is correct, but when somebody is reading it to you or somebody has a different opinion on that, you're like, oh, I didn't see it from that perspective.
Right. Right. Right.
So I give her a huge compliment and shout out for that. And then the second book that's going to come out right now is called Sparks of the Divine.
Mm.
It's like a daily reader from day 1 to day 365. She is the sole editor on that for me, and her English is phenomenal. So she does an amazing job at helping me correct my mistakes or any other opportunities. Yeah.
So, yeah, switch subject. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, yeah, please drink a water.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 second, guys, 1 sec. We're gonna pass this over. Thank you. One of the things I wanted to ask you, looking back at your life, do you have any regrets?
No regrets, because
Mm.
everything has been a learning opportunity. It's only a regret if I didn't grow from it.
Ooh.
So in every aspect of my life, when I decided to go on this, so I have my solar business, Sunlight Solar, and I have my uh, spiritual guidance, if you want to call it.
Sure.
I haven't really started it, but I have all the content for days.
Right.
The first book, Beyond Common Belief. Second one, Sparks of the Divine, and I've done a lot of videos on Instagram here and there. But I gave myself from age 25 is when I really knew which way my life was going to go.
Mm.
Even when I was in Primerica,
Right.
I knew that I was going to be in the position of speaking and helping people find peace and inner joy. So I gave myself 10 years to really prove it to myself that what I'm teaching is what I'm preaching. What I'm teaching is what I'm living.
Right.
And so I went through ups and downs. So really, like, taking stock of when I go down, when I'm in the valley, what got me there, and how long did I stay? And when I got back into the peak, what got me back to the peak? How long did I stay? So all my life now has been being able to consciously shorten the valleys and lengthen the peaks. How do you do that? by taking analysis of your life.
Mm.
Most of us, we praise God with one breath, but we curse man with the other,
Mm.
not knowing that what we do for that man is what we're doing for God. So what we want God to do for us, we have to be able to do it for somebody else. But because we separate them, we asking for blessing here while stomping on somebody next door,
Mm.
or cursing somebody else next door. It doesn't work like that. So no regrets, because every individual that has come into my life, even animals for that matter, has been somebody and something that's teaching me something about myself. And so when I look at that, I bless everybody. When people go through breakups, when the first thing they do is what? Man,
Yep.
her, man,
Yep.
her,
Yep.
da,
Yep. Yep.
chugging and going to smoking, da 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 da. And when I experienced mine, I was in the shower crying, saying, "Please, Lord, make her heart dream come true." Like
Mm.
I'm blessing, whatever.
Right.
But in turn, what was happening was that blessing that I was throwing for somebody else was boomeranging to me.
Mm.
And so now
You
I'm in
give what you get.
exactly in multiples.
Right.
We give the earth a seed, she gives us 100 grains or
Right.
corn, whatever. So it's not necessarily you give what you get. If you do good, you get back a lot.
Right.
If you do bad, you get back a lot. But too many times we don't associate that. When we get back karma, we say it does not necessarily come to us directly, but it might hurt our friend.
Right.
It might hurt our mom. It might hurt our cousin. No, we're asking, why, Lord? Why are you doing this?
Mm.
Not realizing that we cursed somebody yesterday. We hurt
Mm.
somebody the previous day. So, any type of experience that you go through, you have to look at it as a lessening, like an opportunity for a lesson, instead of a lessening.
Mm.
Lessening like to learn for lesson from, or instead of making you like lower, if that makes sense. And to me, I realized that it's all, like I said earlier, it's a character development goal. So we all have this tug of war between our ego and our soul. Who's going to win?
Mm.
The one that we feed the most.
Right.
And so how do we feed our soul? By doing good to others, by meditating to cleanse our consciousness. But we have to be in a position. That's why Christ said, if somebody slaps you, give him the other cheek.
Mm.
Because he truly understood that we were one and the same. We are brothers and sisters in spirit. Just because our skin color, our attitude separates us, that doesn't mean you're separate from me, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So that's how I see it.
Feel free to drink water, my friend.
Yeah, I am. Thank you.
So my next question is the kind of like you have gone through this path. We just visited your life, but now you're kind of shifting towards the future. What's the dream? What's the goal? What do you want out of life? What do you want to accomplish and be your legacy?
Yeah. Giving back. We're part of the Chino Alliance volunteer group. Have you ever heard of it
I
before?
have not.
So it's a huge organization. It's an international organization. So we do volunteer there. Give back to people here and there when they need help. But ultimately, is to create school of independent thought. It's called Luminosity, School of Independent Thought. The goal for that is to get young children between the ages of 5 to 10, when their mind is still fresh before the world has contaminated them. When they're coming to us and say, "Daddy, Daddy, I want to be a pilot," this is when the kid is telling you when before the world told them you can't do that.
Mm.
So when they're purist, you get them, put them to the school system called Luminosity, and the goal is to teach them in the non-negotiables, like the fundamentals of life, like trade work, like math, reading, all this stuff has to be there, and then teach them a class on how to be a good human, like like how to treat others the way you want to be treated. That in itself can be a class, but beyond that, you have to get them enrolled in classes that comes naturally to them. So if a kid wants to be like, if their heart yearns to be a painter, you got to bring a painter that's teaching them how to become the best painter.
Right.
Instead of saying, no, 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 you cannot make money in painting, so leave that, go to engineering. But the kids like having now, that's why midlife crisis happen.
Right.
Midlife crisis happen because most of us wake up to a life that's not ours.
Mm.
You're like, I didn't design this, I was pushed to this. So we have to figure out. So this school system would allow kids to, um, you know, cultivate that from a young age. When you look at Kobe Bryant, when you look at Tiger Woods, when you look at Michael Jackson, whatever whoever you think is like an idol,
Right.
most of them started doing what they're doing at a young age, but they've been honing their skills, and plus they don't see that as work because it was passion of theirs.
Right.
It's like they were doing something that they love, and guess what? Our purpose in life is the best way that we can be of service to God.
Right.
Because then that's why people who follow their visions, their passions, they get paid the most because God is rewarding them the most
Mm-hmm.
because they were true to themselves. Most of us abandoning our purpose to fill our purse because we want. I got to pay bills. I
Right.
got to. But now you have a miserable life. But there's more than one way of getting compensated. You don't only get compensated financially, but you can also get compensated spiritually. But if you find an opportunity, and that opportunity for you is following your talent, whatever comes naturally to you. If interviewing comes naturally to you, which it does seem like you're very calm with it, guess what? If you do this every single day, guess what? Payoff is coming.
Right.
You know, the industry being as big as you want it to be is coming. You just got to stay consistent with it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I see it.
Um.
So yeah. Oh, sorry. I mean, if I answer my question in a
No, I
long
think
way,
yeah.
it's luminosity, and then obviously from that comes open up homeless shelters,
Mm.
clinics, elementary schools back home, um, and then being able to, if God wills it, travel, speak, and help people find inner joy and peace. No matter how wealthy you are, how much money you have, no matter how little of money you have, inner joy and peace are for free.
Mm.
But the only problem is it's kind of like having a pen behind your ear. You forget about it.
After all,
You're like, where is it? You're searching everywhere.
where's my glasses? On
Glass
your head?
all along. Exactly. I've done that before. You know, I got into a car with my best friend Mahari, you know. I was like, what, 22, 23, had my Ray-Bans or something like that.
Yo.
I got in the car, I'm like, bro, my headlight is off, you know. So forgot that I had glasses on. But spirituality is just like that too.
Right.
God is always like that because all of us are searching for joy and peace out there where all along it was right here.
It's already here.
Yeah.
We have what's called a deep question section. I asked 3 questions, hand chosen by Mookyoung Song herself. So you
Young
know they're
Song.
juicy.
Ooh.
Okay, juicy.
Medium rare.
So no specific order. Okay. So when do you come? You're ready?
Good.
Okay. When do you come to your family for help instead of your friends?
That's a very good question.
Shout out to Sarah. Good job.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think we've all done this, but you should always come to your family for anything. Anything. Obviously, because how we grow up in our relationship is different.
Hmm.
Because your parents and your siblings can never be not your parents, not
Right.
your siblings.
Right.
No matter how much we try to even disown them, dude, we come from the same parents, and I'm your son, you're my father. I'm your son, and you're my mom, and you're my dad. You know.
Right.
So from a young age, what we need to do, I believe, is as parents, we need to cultivate a relationship that there's open door policy.
Right.
There needs to be like a fine line drawn between respect and friendship, where they can be like your friend to the point that you're doing stuff that you would do with your friends.
Right.
But they have to have when we become parents, we need to be like giving, open, understanding, and realize as parents that, hey, my kid is going as a teenager.
Right.
What I also was going as a teenager.
Right.
So not only should I only see it from my perspective of parent to son or parent to kid to children, I should also see it from children to parent perspective. But because most of us as parents draw a hard line that I am your parent, this is the way it's supposed to be, my way or the highway, the children at that point is when they start to go to their friends, because you go where you're invited, you go where you're valued, you go where you belong. Even though they're my parents, even though they're my family, if they're not accepting me for who I am, I'm going to find somebody else that accepts me for who I am. And so you should always, always, always have a relationship, even though I'm guilty of not doing that. It's something I'm learning right now. Even though we should always have a relationship with our parents that we can come to, because they'll always be there for us, at least for my culture.
Right.
When people ask me what's the difference between America and Eritrea, I used to tell them, back home in Eritrea, we had a lot of values, but not a whole lot of opportunity.
Right.
In America, we have a lot of opportunity, but not a whole lot of values.
Right.
So if we can marry those two together, there's a happy union. And so, but to your friends, you have to have gone through something together. where you were there in your darkest moment,
Yeah.
so they can be there for you in your darkest moment. And I don't think it's good to have too many friends.
Sure.
You got to keep your circle small and quality over quantity, if that makes sense. So most of the time that I go to my friends is if I'm having like relationship problems, something like that. But
Right.
I think it should be an open door policy that we go to our parents even though we're facing that kind of stuff.
Second question. What is something you would never give up?
My integrity.
Doing the right thing when no one's looking.
Mm, you know, especially being in sales, you know, part of the thing that makes me such a badass is not necessarily because I sell the most, but I care the most, I
Mm.
believe. And so my integrity, I would not settle for. My freedom, same thing. So it's something that intangible. Doing good for others, to the best of my abilities. I'm not going to sell that. But to sum it up, is just integrity is huge to me.
Okay.
Doing honoring time, that's huge integrity as well too. Being where you being where you said you're going to be at the time that you're going to be.
Mm.
And it's not necessarily it works out like that, but at least shoot a text and say, hey, I'm running late.
Right.
But if you're not texting, if you don't show up on time, two things are happening. Either you don't respect me or you don't respect the appointment that we had, if that makes sense.
Right. Right.
And so integrity, it all falls into that. Mm-hmm.
If you had if your let's say your son or great 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 grandson or granddaughter or whatever, right? But I really want to specifically say your child looks back on this. What advice would you give them?
To always stay true to themselves, to be a man or a woman of your word, um, to seek truth no matter what.
Mm.
Even though if you don't pursue it 100%, that you're trying to change the world, but at least in your home, you have to have a sense of balance because it has to be open, full of integrity, full of truth. Um, and then follow your passion, follow your heart. You know what I'm saying? None of us are designed to be a square. All of us are different shapes, and the universe is infinite, so we can have infinite shapes. Just like every snowflake is different. None of us are the same. We look the same. We have the same spirit, but what we're supposed to be pursuing in life, all of us have our own individual ways of doing things. And so, in that sense, I would tell them, follow your passion, stay true to yourself, treat others the way you want to be treated, follow the golden rule, pretty
Mm.
much. Yeah. Hmm.
Where can people find you? How can people connect with you?
Excuse me. Um, I only have Instagram at the moment. Um, so they can find me on Instagram.
Sometimes life is simpler that way.
Um, it's just the way everything is going. Like, I have to keep my peace.
Yeah.
You want to know the most important currency in life is? Well,
Time.
I used to answer that question.
Okay.
Is your attention.
Oh. Okay.
Attention. Attention can either steal time from you
Yeah.
or can also give time to for
Right.
you.
Right. Right.
And so, and in this world, all of us are fighting, and the whole world is fighting for what? For your attention.
Sure.
So many billions of videos on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff.
Right.
And so you have to value your attention more than anything else, so that wherever your attention goes, that's where energy flows.
Right.
And that's when things begin to manifest in your life. So if you're having a tough time in life right now, it's not because you're a bad person. It's just been focused on the wrong things. And so you have to have two things. You have to have you have to identify what the problem is,
Right.
but you also have to have the awareness of the problem. They seem two alike, but they're different.
Mm.
Identifying can say, "Oh, I have a problem," but the awareness can be, "Oh, shoot, I am the problem."
Mm.
So if I am the problem, I could also be the solution.
Mm.
That's when you do the self-analysis. Then if you track back, you have to ask yourself, when was the last time I was at odds with somebody? When was the last time I cursed somebody? When was the last time I hurt somebody?
Right.
Oh, I made a mistake. It takes a lot of guts and confidence and, courage to say I'm sorry.
Right.
But, in the way that you feel, in the way that you move, like I'm a good shimmier as a noob, you know what I'm saying? But because my spirit is so light, like, I float sometimes, but attention. So we have to be very, very careful where we're spending our time. Where our time is through our attention, if that makes sense.
And so you said Instagram is the best way to
Yep.
for people
Yeah.
to.
So Instagram, my name is Abeselom Semere. Abeselom means Father of Peace,
Mm.
which I'm trying to live up to the name. but the spelling is Abeselom underscore Semere, which is Semere. Mm-hmm.
Um, this is the final question we always ask at the end of the show. Um, what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life is to find meaning in it. That's the meaning of life,
The journey.
the journey. And to find the meaning of life, it's not going to be defined by one person telling us this is the way to do it,
Mm.
because we've already seen way too many ways to do life. But unfortunately, most of us try to follow a certain protocol that does not fit with our own agenda. So we're not finding meaning in our own life. We're helping somebody else find meaning in their life. So when you work for a corporation, guess what? It's because the owner had a vision of what he wants to create. So you're helping him create the vision.
Mm.
So you're actually finding a meaning for his life. So what we got to do is we have to find meaning in life for our own selves. And so we give it meaning. And I tell somebody this, when it comes to purpose, purpose is not for us individually to define what our purpose is. Who defines our purpose is the people that we leave behind. Because once our time has been checked off and time is done and the big man calls our name, it is those people are going to say, oh, he was such an honorable man. Oh, he was such a thief. Oh, he did so good for the world. Oh, he robbed the world. So it's not us that define our purpose. It's the people that we leave behind that define our purpose. And in that, is because it depends whether we find a meaning in life or we didn't.
Um, Abeselom, Semere.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us, my friends.
Thank you for having us, man. I appreciate it.
To everyone who tuned in and joined us, I really appreciate it. We got to shout out to one final thing before we go, as I'm being reminded. We have a painting that was donated and chosen by Mr. Semere himself. This is by Christina Moretti, and she put some time into this piece. We we had a night where we came all together to kind of create the piece, and she was like, okay. So she took the longest out of everyone. She only made one piece, and this was the piece that she made.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that you, even out of the stack that we have, you chosen it from the stack. You didn't even look at you didn't even check through them.
I
You
didn't
said
know.
immediately that was your piece. Why did this one call to you?
Intuition is very key to life.
Mm.
Most of us, our intuition is deafened by the noises that we have in our mind and the chatters that we have in our hearts.
Mm.
So when we meditate and cleanse ourselves and we make ourselves as open as possible, the voice of God is silence. But you can hear that silence as loud as me and you are talking if there's no chatters in the mind and there's instability in the heart. So if something calls me, like I don't deny why it's calling me, I don't try to figure it out, I just do it. And this one right here, I didn't see the stack, but it just spoke to me, and I realized that once I grabbed it, that this color is actually the color of my logo.
Mm.
And I've been told before that I have the burnt orange aura. I don't know what that means, but I like it. It's like Super Saiyan, God mode, So I appreciate it. But once I grabbed it, I'm very content, very happy. And shout out to Christina for making it. You said she only made one
Yeah, so that's her piece.
and took it the longest.
Yeah.
Guess what? Thank you, Christina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a woman of faith as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. That's good.
someday we have to connect.
Oh,
the two.
please. That would be awesome, man.
Thank you everyone who joined us tonight. Peace, have love, have happiness even after death. Good night, guys.
Thank you, guys.